Suspension of sentence shall not be applied to juvenile, shall not be applied to the juvenile if the juvenile is already 18 years age or more at the time of the pronouncement of his or her guilt. This statement is either true or false. Now the answer here is that if the child, okay, 18 years old at the time of the commission of the offense, the statement is, okay, this statement is false. Okay, suspension of this sentence, okay, applies to juveniles or to children, okay, already 18 years of age or more at the time of the commission of the offense. Okay, good evening, Mr. and Miss Criminologists. So this session we will be having our the child in conflict with the law. This treatment of child in conflict with the law well starts from the taking of the child into custody. This taking of the child into custody was discussed on our first slide, which discusses on the processes and procedures once a police officer or a law enforcement officer has able to arrest a child in conflict with the law, or a private citizen who is able to arrest a child in conflict with the law. Then after taking the child into custody, as part of the initial contact with the child, there will be a initial investigation to be conducted by the police. Okay? This initial investigation conducted by police officers will be assisted by the Department of Social Welfare and then Development to assist the case of this CICL. Now, the Department of Social Welfare and Development has their own works, which was discussed again on the previous session. And then we'll be having here the preliminary investigation, because preliminary investigation is a way for us to see if there has been really a cause or a reason, or to engender, of course, a well-founded belief that in fact crime has been committed as part of probable cause. Now, let us first discuss the intervention and diversion program, because intervention program are series of activities designed to address issues that cause the child to commit the offense. So what could be the things that are to be done so for us to be able to address what is the reason or what could be the pushing factor that caused, okay, that child to commit these kinds of crime. So these are the things that we are to consider. Now, the procedure on intervention is that, of course, first, the CICL or the 15 years old and below will be taken into custody. That is, those who will only be given intervention are those children 15 years old and below, which must be immediately released to his or her parents. Because remember, we have discussed on the previous sessions that 15 years old and below are automatically exempted from criminal liability. So what is the thing that you should remember here is that once you arrest the person, a 15 years old and below are automatically to be released to his or her parents, the Barangay Council for Peace and Order, BCPO, or the local Social Welfare Development Office. Now, after the child has been released to his parents, there will be a notice that will be given to the local Social Welfare Development Office, which is why is there a need for this notice is to determine the appropriate programs, appropriate things, appropriate intervention program that with the child, parents, or if the child has been considered as a member of dysfunctional, abandoned, or neglected family, there will be some programs that will be given by the local social welfare development, and that is to be done if the child is 15 years old and below, which has been taken into custody. Okay? Well, when a child does not comply with the intervention program or this intervention program given by the local Social Welfare Development Office, they will file for an involuntary commitment. Involuntary commitment because this will be accompanied, or the program will be accompanied by the parents, of course. Now, if the parents and the child does not follow all the requisites or all the kinds of programs given to them by the local Social Welfare Development Office, Okay, they will be filing involuntary commitment in a sense that the parents and the child did not undergo or did not follow what you call as this intervention program. Now, what are the examples of intervention programs? Okay, intervention programs are simply in a form of counseling. Okay, wherein the local social welfare development, a counselor, maybe in a form of psychologist or psychiatrist, will be talking to the child and the parents. Why is it that that the child became a child in conflict with the law? What else? Peer counseling and life skills training and education. So this is to a peer counseling, that there will be groups of people who will be talking to the parent and likewise to the child in the development of his skills or in a form of education. In that way, maybe because of his maybe because of these actions that he had performed, he is committed a crime because maybe he is uneducated or it lacks skills or because of boredom he has done something. So let us give him life skills so that he will be doing this or will be practicing these kinds of skills in the development of a child who is a better member of the society. What else? Provision of support services to the family in cases of dysfunctional or neglected child, that we will give him a form of support or a form of program which will give them it will help the family to the avoidance of becoming an abandoned or neglected child again, maybe because the parents does not have any forms of work. Intervention, we are trying to address what caused the child to commit these kinds of offenses. The fourth one is to either refer this to other agencies or appropriate services. In cases the local social welfare development office is not able to give him a kind of program. Another one is the access to the child in youth organizations in the community, such as both but not limited to Sangguniang Kabataan. That is to help the child again. So these are just few of the examples of giving intervention. Now, while providing this intervention, while giving intervention to the child in conflict with the law, the child and the parents or guardians or person having the custody of the child shall shall regularly report to the local social welfare development office, which by this reason we will be able to determine the intervention program for the evaluation intervention program. Okay, so dahil the child is undergoing intervention, the parent, guardian or persons having custody of the child must every day, regularly basis, on everyday basis, determine, okay, how effective this program given to the child by reporting any kinds of progress, okay, to the local social welfare and development office. This is to see how effective the program will be in cases there is a need for adjustment. What else? Report on the evaluation regarding the compliance by the child on the and the parents with the terms and conditions of the program. If this counseling, if this peer counseling is being followed by these parents, including the child, or these kinds of programs given to them, such as the membership of the Sangguniang Kabataan we had discussed a while ago on the previous uh, presentation. Another one is this, what if the child fails to comply with the intervention programs provided for by the LSWDO? Remember, if the child and the parents or guardian or person having custody of the child fails to comply with the programs, with the intervention program specifically, despite of any kinds of exhaustive actions or despite exhausting all the efforts to assist them, okay, the local social welfare development may file petition for involuntary commitment of the child in pursuant to our PD 603. This is because the parent also neglected the rights of the child and has been able to attend all the work or all of the part wherein a parent must do for a or her or his child. What is for intervention program? It is only given to children below 15 years old, and that is to seek for the reason or what caused the child to commit the crime. Okay? The second is our diversion program. Now, the diversion program is just an alternative, a child-appropriate process of determining the responsibility and treatment of the child in conflict with the law. Well, this is based on his social, cultural, economic, or psychological, or even educational background. Okay? Without resorting to our formal court proceeding. Which is the same with the intervention in terms of not being able to bring them in court. However, for diversion program, this is only given to children or CICL above 15 years old and below 18 years of age who acted with discernment. So, being able to identify diversion from intervention, it is because who undergoes diversion now? Those above 15, below 18 who acted with discernment. Again, what is the discernment? The capacity to know what is right from wrong. Intervention, on the other hand, is for those children below 15 years old and below. Okay? Likewise, what is this contract of diversion? This diversion is that the child voluntarily admits the commission of the act, or the victim and the offender must likewise both agree with the diversion program. So this diversion program, the child admits the commission of the act. So he must first admit that he has really committed a crime, or that before we will enter on the diversion contract, the victim of this offender, of the CICL, must likewise agree with the this diversion program. Okay, on this diversion program, what is this really diversion program? This must be made in writing or signed by both parties concerned and concerned authorities. Now, the local social welfare and development will be the one to implement and then supervise this diversion programs, which is to be completed within 45 days. That is 1 month and 15 days. Okay. On the diversion program, the child must be presenting himself, or must present himself or herself at least once a month for a reporting or on evaluation. Okay, unlike the intervention program, that the parent, guardian, or the person under the who is having the custody over the child must report to the local social welfare and development office in a regular basis, everyday basis. This diversion program will be for at least a month. Okay, failure to comply also with this, or what if this reporting to be made by the child in conflict with the law was not followed, or the failure to comply with the terms and conditions of this diversion program, is that the victim has the option to institute, or the offended party has the option to continue or pursue with the appropriate legal action, because the terms and conditions of this diversion will be certified by our social welfare and development. So the diversion program must be certified by our local social welfare and development, and shall give the offended party the right to institute legal action. Now, if the child in conflict with the law again willfully fail to comply with the conditions of his or her rehabilitation program, the child shall be brought before the court for the execution of judgment. In case the child, of course, acted with discernment, okay, that is to be determined by the court in his as part of determining the discernment. So, the taking of the child into custody, that is initial contact. There is a preliminary investigation by the police, assisted by our DSWD. Preliminary investigation was conducted, and the filing of the case to the court was likewise conducted. They will be either releasing this on cognizance, or cognizance or bail or detention, or if the child is below 18 years old, he will be released. Okay, the diversion will be created if there will be if it is allowed by the court, okay, where it is allowable. Okay, trial and trial will be conducted. Now, in what are the things that we should remember in cases of court proceedings? For court proceedings, it applies, if we should of course apply the privilege mitigating circumstances, wherein children, because of their minority, they are given the privilege to be lessened, okay, or have a penalty which is lessened because of minority, okay. And then if the child is detained, there could be either in a form of bail, okay, which will be this which was discussed on our corrections area. What is this bail? It's a form of security for the temporary release of the child is in our correctional and non-institutional correction, or in our criminal justice system in the part of the corrections pillar. Okay, if the child has to be detained, it could be in a form of youth detention home or youth home, rehabilitation center, an institution as a last resort, of course, because we are trying to avoid children's going to the court. Okay, again, just like what I discussed on the last session, that we try to eliminate children in court because of the population, of course, there, because of the environment, or there will be psychological effects that will be by the child. Okay, so there will be no detention of child in jail if it is still pending. If the child, or when the child in conflict with the law is found to be guilty. If the child is guilty beyond reasonable doubt, maybe because even if we try to avoid the child to be undergoing the court trial, he was found guilty. Okay, so the court shall determine the civil liability. Sir, why is it that there is civil liability? Well, of course, that is torts, in a form of torts, wherein the civil liability will be shouldered by his or her parents, and the criminal liability will be to the child. Well, instead of pronouncing the judgment for conviction, okay, automatic suspension of this sentence shall be given in full credit. Okay, automatic. So, application is not needed except above years of ages. Again, when the child is found guilty beyond reasonable doubt, or the civil liability must be determined. Okay, for that purpose, it will either be given to the parents as part of the torts. Now, instead of pronouncing that the child is guilty beyond reasonable doubt, or pronouncing that the child is convicted, okay, there will be a form of suspension, and they will be waiting it until the time the child is allowed to be given away, wherein they will be pronouncing his guilt again. Okay? While the child is undergoing a form of rehabilitation program, okay, because after finding that the child is guilty beyond reasonable doubt, they will be providing him with a rehabilitation program, or they will be giving him a form of any forms of program by the social workers. Now, possibility that children can still be discharged. Okay, on the recommendations of the social worker with the study of the child or case studies, the court may dismiss the case. Okay, that is if we have a recommendation from the social worker. Okay, orders of final discharge of CICL if objective of disposition measures has been fulfilled, or meaning to say that the child had at least followed all the kinds of conditions. That we should also remember here is the confidentiality of records or the proceedings. Once our children has been in conflict with the law, we are obliged, or the law is obliged to keep all records as a non-disclosure type of records to either the media. Okay, separate the police blotters, Yan, then there should be coding to conceal the identity or any form of protecting the child in conflict with the law on all his records shall be given confidentiality. It must be privileged only. Okay. What if the children still has the guts to not to follow or not to follow all the rules or all the conditions bestowed by to them by the court? Okay, the children in conflict with the law will go back to the court for the execution of judgment. Okay, so while waiting for the proper age of the child, okay, or the child to become 18 years old, let's say for example his case was guilty, or he was guilty on the age which is below 18. Let's say it is 17 years old. So he has been guilty on the age of 17. So this suspension of the case of the child will be automatically be granted to him without resorting to application to the court, because this will be automatically a part of their right. They will be suspending the proclamation of sentence of the child and then wait until the child reaches the age of 18. Now, while waiting for the age of 18, the local social welfare and development office will be overlooking at the child in cases that the child will be still has the possibility of producing, or still has the possibility of changing these kinds of behaviors which are not acceptable to the community. Now, if the child still was not able to follow all the conditions bestowed to them by the social worker, and the social worker did not recommend for the dismissal of the case, the child will come back to the court for the execution of his judgment. Now, the execution of the judgment will only when the child reach the age of CICL reach 18 years old under suspended sentence. The court orders his discharge, execute sentence, and extend rehabilitation until the maximum of 21 years of age. So, rehabilitation program continues when the child, until the child becomes 21 years of age. So, what are these examples of rehabilitation program? Before the rehabilitation program, we have a form of or a 24-hour group care that is established by the DSWD, or the youth rehabilitation areas, or the training centers. Okay, there will be youth detention homes, well maintained by the local government units. There are some also in case the child will be going to the community-based programs in a form of to prevent the disruption of education and be separated from his family. This rehabilitation that we are talking about is a community-based center, or are the things that we should remember here. Once the child cases were dismissed due to good behavior, okay, as recommended again by the Social Welfare and Development Office, on the discharge from the child will be discharged from the rehabilitation center, provided that there will be aftercare for at least 6 months by the local Social and Welfare Development Office. So, during the time wherein rehabilitation was ongoing, the child's social worker shall be monitoring him or her until the time he or she will become better or worst person. While doing so, that the social worker was able to find that there will be a reasonable or acceptable reason to dismiss the case of the child, he will be recommending it. If it is recommended and it is dismissed by the court, okay, the local Social Welfare and Development Office has to take into consideration what you call as aftercare for 6 months. Now, while the child has been found guilty of the offense charged against him, the court shall suspend the sentence without the need for application of this suspension of sentence to be done by the child. One of this topic is all about the taking of the child in custody. Okay, what are the things to be remembered? There will be an initial investigation performed by the police officer, preliminary investigation, okay, filing of the case. Okay, there will be release maybe on bail, and then there will be a diversion program. Okay, arraignment will undergo as a part of our criminal procedure or GI criminal just system. Okay, there will likewise be pre-trial. There will be trial. What are the things to be remembered during trial? Promulgation of judgment. Okay, during the promulgation of judgment, suspension of sentence and disposition measures shall be undertaken. Okay, or if the child or if it is allowable by the court, there will be probation and then service of sentence. That will be all for the rules on juvenile in conflict with the law.